Welcome back to the Big Leagues podcast. David and I video. The Stanley Cup Finals just wrapped up last night. Florida Panthers saved themselves from a catastrophic choke job. Get the job done, win the Stanley Cup. McDavid wins the Conn Smythe. I mean, what's your immediate reaction to that?
The choke job or the almost choke job or McDavid win the Conn Smythe?
Take it however you wish.
I mean, for Florida, like, if they don't win that game, like, if you blow a 3-0 series lead and you lose Game 7 on your home ice, like, you might as well not even show up next season at that point. Like for Florida fans, they got away with one because, like, I thought Edmonton was going to win Game 7, but obviously it didn't turn out that way. But, like, Florida not dominated. Like, Game 2, they kind of dominated. Game 1, they got outplayed, but just kind of squeaked by for a win. Game 3, kind of same thing. But then they just kind of was looking in shambles the next 3 games, kind of looked like they had no confidence. And Edmonton thumped them twice. So I didn't have much confidence for Florida going into Game 7. I thought, Bob was looking rattled. He got pulled one game. I was like, all right, McDavid's about to cement his legacy here. But, it didn't work out. But, Florida was one of the top teams all year. They went to the finals last year. Just kind of proved that, they're legit. They're an actual contending team, got their cup. And, I mean, I was pretty shocked, honestly, that McDavid won the Conn Smythe, because I know that the odds were like something
minus
like
4,000 before Game 7.
Before Game 7, but like, obviously he had 42 points, which is only behind Lemieux and Gretzky. But like, I just have a hard time, like, given, I know it's the playoff MVP, but like, given that to the team that didn't even win the cup. Like, it was the first time since, I think, 1976, Brian Leach or something.
Yeah, like a while.
Yeah, it was a while. But, McDavid did have an historic, especially in the modern era. Like, no one's even been close to it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I probably would have given it to Barkov or Kachuk or maybe Bob. Like, I think the winner, that's just kind of always how it's been, when we've been watching hockey, the winner always just gets the Conn Smythe. But, McDavid did have a historic performance. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, if I'm thinking kind of from the Oilers' perspective here, it's like, what are you thinking going into next season? Because, like, it's always been, they can't get the job done. Like, the rest of the team around McDavid and Draisaitl just ain't good enough. But, like, this year, like, for a bit, it was kind of looking like, all right, Bouchard's kind of playing like a top guy. I know Nurse got a lot of criticism, but he's making $9.5 million. So, like, he's got to at least be like a top 4 pick. Like, I don't even think he played as bad as the hate he's getting, for how he played.
Yeah.
So I think their defensive core, Ekholm, like, they got 3 good defensemen. They got some good depth, and Skinner didn't lose them in Game 7. Like, Skinner did his job.
Yeah. I mean, like, that first goal that went in, just a really good tip. Like, nothing Skinner could have did about that. And
that, honestly, the second goal was kind of weak. I'll be honest. Like, I'd like my goalie to save that, but like,
only letting in like one that goal plus the unlucky tip. Like, when you got McDavid and Draisaitl on your team, that's got to be enough to win.
Yeah.
I mean, as for, like, my opinion on the Conn Smythe, like, I do kind of acknowledge that, like, it is good to give it to someone from the team that won, but I think it's just different when it's like, when it is McDavid that's putting up that historic kind of playoff run. I mean, if it's Sam Reinhart and Edmonton wins, like, they're probably not giving it to him. But the fact that it's McDavid, I think, definitely, like, the league wants McDavid to win that trophy. So I think that's probably why they gave it to him. And I mean, I don't really hate it, to be honest. Like, going into that game, though, I thought Florida was going to get the win. I just think, like, one thing that I think definitely, like, could play a role is that when you're up 3-0, like, you can't take your foot off the gas a little. And then once Edmonton, like, comes back, now all of a sudden the pressure's on them. Like, they just came back from 3-0, like, they're feeling the pressure. And Florida is kind of feeling like a different kind of pressure where it's like, oh, like, we can't lose this game. Like, I'm going to, like, put my life on the line to win this game. So I think that, like, honestly might have played a factor as well, where in such a close game, that might have been the edging factor.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Florida, like the pressure would go both ways. Like you'd feel the pressure to win, but you'd also be feeling the pressure. Like if we lose, it's like, it's going to be so embarrassing and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So I think it kind of goes both ways.
I
But,
suppose. Do you think
um,
do you think that Edmonton, like, I don't know, like, do you think they're okay? Like, I think they'll probably be back. They just maybe need to retool a little bit and upgrade a few little depth positions. Like, I feel like they could be back.
I mean, in the NHL, it's so hard to like. It's a lot harder than kind of like the NBA to make the finals like multiple years in a row. Um, and the West is so stacked too. There's Dallas, Vegas,
Yeah.
Colorado, Vancouver's like there's like some up and coming teams too. Like I'd say they probably might, like I had them going to the winning the cup at the start of the playoffs. Like they were my pick, but it'll be tough. I think they'll have to retool at least something. They'll have to do something because the team, like I think it's probably the best team McDavid's had, and you still kind of, even though you pushed it to Game 7, you were down 3-0. Like it was like if they got swept, I think we'd be having a lot different conversation right now.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't know because it's hard. Like I thought this is Edmonton's year. Like is it like after watching the game last night, I was just on my way home. I was really considering like, do they break up McDavid and Draisaitl?
Well, I seen that today. I seen like a notification on my phone, like potential Draisaitl trades. I'm like, get that out of here. Like, you don't trade a guy like Leon Draisaitl. I don't
Yeah,
care. Like, you made the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, maybe if they got swept in round one by the Kings, I'd be like, okay, you can blow it up. But you were in Game 7 of the finals. Like, I think if there's any way you can improve on in the goaltending position at all over Stuart Skinner, like improve the fringe on the defense or some bottom six forwards, get some better guys, and like you're right there. I don't think you trade Draisaitl. He's a like undisputed top five player in the world.
yeah. I mean, I honestly think Draisaitl had a pretty stinker Cup Finals. To be honest, I think
Maybe
like I don't know. He just wasn't playing as
he
confident as he
wasn't producing
was.
like a top guy, like the guy that he should be.
But like, it's not even just like he wasn't putting up point. Like he was getting a lot of chance. Like that's his spot, kind of that one time around the power play, kind of like it's below the circle. It's kind of that's his shot,
Mm.
and he missed like several opportunities, especially in Game 7. There's one I was just seeing the replay on like Instagram this morning, and he had it, and then he kind of just like
Yeah,
pushed. He kind of, I mean, it happens. Like he scores like 50 goals every year, so you can't really chirp him for that, but. Like I think Edmonton could probably use another top six bona fide forward because, like, if you think about it, they got Nuge, they got McDavid, they got Hyman, they got Draisaitl, and then they were having Evander Kane playing the top six. They were having they were having some guys
yeah,
who aren't really like Corey Perry was playing with fucking Draisaitl for a few games. Like, I mean, I don't know.
yeah. I just think they kind of need like one or two more like middle six forwards to kind of
Yeah,
take ease some of the burden. I mean, like Matthias Janmark was playing really good, and
yeah.
like I kind of like Connor Brown and some of their guys, but like
Well,
just one or two more to with a
those are
little
good. Like
more offensive
those
upside, I think would be
those are
good.
good. I honestly liked Edmonton's bottom six. I think they played good. I think that's kind of part of the reason why they went deep because when McDavid and Draisaitl were not producing for like a period or two, like their bottom six would chip in some like gritty goals. Like you saw Janmark had like three of the same goals where he just kind of like snuck behind the D on like a penalty kill and just kind of like bared it, just like the goal he scored last night. So I think it'll be tough for Edmonton. I don't like. I honestly think they'll stick with Skinner though after kind of cleaning it up.
Yeah. I just don't know what's really out there for them. I mean, it's easy to say, oh, you got to upgrade it, but I'm not sure like what they go to in that situation.
Like
So
I could, even though I was just kind of defending them, I think they'll try to move off Nurse. Like I think that contract's too long.
maybe
Like nine and a
if
half.
you'd be kind of selling low on them. I mean, I don't
But
know if you'd be able to get like a
like
good package to
I'm
help build for the next year.
like you'd probably have to. You wouldn't get much back because of the contract, but I think maybe just get some flexibility and maybe try to build through free agent, maybe try to pick up 2 players in free agency.
Yeah, potentially.
Because like their bottom, kind of like Cody Ceci and Kulak, and like that's their bottom. They could use
Yeah.
another like third pair and defenseman for sure, because they were kind of weak there.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think they need to improve the bottom of the other defense pair. Maybe add one more forward.
Yeah.
And then like same like looking at Florida too. I don't wonder if they'll be back in the mix next year because they got some key free agents. Do you think guys like Reinhart, Montour, guys like that, you think they'll be coming back with Florida or?
See, like I'd expect Montour to be back, because I think they'll definitely bring one of them back. Like it'd be hard not to.
Yeah.
But I think Reinhardt's gonna want a bag. Like I'm
Yeah,
seeing.
I think he'll go after scoring all those goals this year. I think someone's going to offer him just more money than the Panthers will be able to. I mean, the Panthers only have projected cap space in like 19.5 mil. I don't know if that's enough to get done what they need to get done this year. So
And like I'm seeing Reinhardt projected potentially getting 10.5, $11 million this off. Like he scored 55 goals and had the game-winning
yeah,
goal in the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's pretty consistent all year long. But like, see, I honestly I don't know if I'd want to pay him if I'm Florida $11 million. Like this was kind of by like a big time breakout year from his. Like he has no other season where he's even been close to this type of production.
yeah. I don't know if I'd want to pay him that kind of money. I mean, yeah, I was just looking at their like free agents. I mean, like obviously we mentioned Reinhardt and Montour, but like Tarasenko, Nick Cousins, Ryan Lomberg, Kevin Stenlund, OEL, Dmitry Kulikov, like they got a lot of guys. So if you pay that 10 million to Reinhardt, your depth is really going to take a hit. So I think Reinhardt's probably gone, to be honest. I'm not sure where,
Yeah,
but some team will probably offer him a
but
bag.
you see with the Leafs, like what happens when you pay like 4 forwards, like your whole salary cap. Like you can't have good depth, and then you just like it's not the NBA. You can't win without depth in the NHL. Like you gotta have
Yeah.
a complete team. You can't just pay like 4 big time forwards like $11 million each. It just doesn't work. Like Florida was deeper than Edmonton. Like Tarasenko was giving them points. Like even OEL, like who they probably got for like 1.5 million, was playing first line power play time when Montour like was hurt for a bit. Like their
Yeah.
depth kind of. I think depth's very important. I think depth honestly can be as important as star power sometimes in the NHL. So I think Florida having only $19 million to bring back kind of you list like 4 or 5 like kind of guys that were pretty productive for Florida in the playoffs. So I think that's going to be trouble. But
Yeah. Not another free agent that I'm thinking, or like, you think Steven Stamkos comes back to Tampa this year?
um, I didn't. But I think the extra $6 million in cap, I think they'll get it done. I think honestly that kind of got Tampa out of a pickle, because
Yeah.
I think it's probably like Stammer probably wants like 9 mil for like 3 years, and Tampa's like we'll give you like 7.5, and they both kind of just weren't budging. But I think when you're getting an extra $6 million to not bring back kind of your captain, the guy who's been with your franchise since day one, like I think that'd be pretty wild. And like
Yeah.
Tampa's still a good team too, so like I feel like it'd just be ridiculous to let Stamkos walk for nothing.
Yeah. I just wonder if like, I mean, that is a good point. I never really thought of that extra cap space boost. Will definitely give them a shot at him. But like, I know there was big rumors about Stamkos leaving last time he was a free agent, and there's kind of been you've been hearing a lot of rumblings about some kind of disagreements between him and the front office, and maybe they look at him and say, you know what, like he's getting older. We don't have all this money to be spending on him, and maybe that relationship is just soured, and he says, you know what, I'm packing my bags. So I think that's definitely like an interesting domino. He might not necessarily be the best free agent, but he's definitely up there. And if he hits the open market, like there'll be some teams that'd be looking for him, I imagine.
Oh, like I'm sure there's going to be teams that offer him significant money if he ends up hitting free agency. Like even if they're not contenders, like I'm sure like even kind of teams that got young cores that are like I mean like kind of like what Ottawa did with Claude Giroux, like brought him in when they got a kind of a young core, bringing like a an experienced guy who, has been there, done that, and still like very highly productive. Like Stammer had 40 tucks this year. Like he's still a really good player. So I think kind of maybe teams won't give him as much term as he might want, but I think the AAV will definitely be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other kind of free agents you got your eye on?
I mean, it's interesting what's going on with Guentzel. Like, kind of Carolina brought him in, and they were starting to shop Nekas because they're like, all right, it's kind of a priority. We're gonna bring Guentzel back, and then now it came out not too long ago. They're shopping him around for like a third. They're looking for like a mid-round pick, so that could be like it's going to be interesting to see what happens there because Carolina is a contending team, and if they lose Nekas and Guentzel, you're kind of wondering like what's going on, what's Carolina's plan, and where like Guentzel could be a big addition to like let's say Edmonton went and got him, add another forward to their top six. Like I mean, any places you'd have him linked to?
I don't know. Tough to say. I mean, I think a lot of teams are options. I seen that today that he's probably going to test free agency. That doesn't necessarily rule out the Hurricanes, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, could be a lot of teams to be honest. I'd gladly take him back on the Penguins. I don't think that's going to happen, but
I was going to ask, like, honestly, would it be ridiculous? Like, I honestly think
I'd find it hard to believe like that you trade a guy away at the deadline and then re-sign him like that summer. It's just kind of hard for me to imagine. I don't remember too many instances of that. And I also saw a bit off topic, but the like same thing with the Raptors and OG Anunoby that they're looking at bringing him in back again. I mean, we don't got to get into that today, but it just seems a little strange to me. I don't think that'll happen.
Well, like a while back, like probably like 6-7 years now, Montreal traded Plekanec at the deadline to the Leafs for a second round pick and then re-signed him that summer. So like it's happened a few times, and honestly, like I think Pittsburgh's kind of got to make a decision to either make one last push. I know that's kind of what they did with Carlson, but then they kind of went the opposite way, trading Guentzel, or kind of try to help build a young core and maybe have like Sid kind of try to lead that young core.
Yeah. I mean, they're my favorite team, so obviously I got my eye on them, but they're definitely a team that I got my eye on for this offseason. I think there's going to be moves coming. I mean, it's just inevitable that when you got Sid and Gino and the Tang and Carlson like aging and you didn't make the playoffs, like you're going to have to make changes. They re-signed Nedeljkovic $2.5 million, and there's a lot of talks about the Penguins potentially shipping Jerry. I mean, I don't know. I really like Nedeljkovic. I think he could potentially like start for us maybe, but it's just like I feel like it's a big risk to take. But like what about if you're a team like Edmonton, would you make a move there? I mean, I don't know what we would get back, but
yeah, I mean it'd be tough. I don't know what the return would be, but
yeah, I don't know what the package is from Edmonton, but well, those like Montreal, you guys could use a goalie.
We could. Like I don't know if it's our timeline though. Like I think
Jerry's still pretty young.
Yeah, like he'd be what 27, 28, I'd imagine.
Something like that off the top of my head, I don't know, but
just like I could see Montreal. I really think Montreal could use a goalie, but we kind of have like three somewhat young goalies that I think we might give like a year or two to see if maybe one of them can, because like we kind of like from what I know, our management likes Primo, they like Montembeault, and they like our prospect Jacob Fowler, who played for Boston College and was pretty sensational and played for Team USA as well, and apparently like they're really high on him. So like I couldn't see us moving like a bunch of assets for Jarry, to be honest.
Fair. There's another name that I seen kind of being shopped around the league that I saw the Habs were in on potentially is Patrick Laine. Would you be interested in a move for him?
I would, because honestly, I think you'd be getting him at the best value you could ever get him at, and I think just Columbus is just the worst situation. Like sometimes just a player's just not as good as they can be, and because of a situation, because you see it all the time, and like the NFL and NBA, when a player like moves teams, they go from being like mid or like kind of a bum, and they like take off, have this big explosion. And I feel like Montreal would be like, he could play with, new Hook and Doc on the second line. I feel like that'd be a pretty decent spot for him. And like,
Yeah.
people are comparing, like, we're saying who's better, him or Matthews, like 2 years into their career. So there's definitely still some, not potential left in him, but still some very good hockey left in him, I think.
Yeah, I
And
mean he can fill the net. Like I think
yeah,
if you put the right players around him, he can be a talented player. I saw like the Penguins name was or like his name was floated around potentially with the Penguins as well, and I was like, sign me up for that. I mean,
yeah.
I definitely think we could get something out of him, but I got a little spooked off when I saw the cap hit at 8.5 million. It's kind of a tough sell.
I thought he was 6.5, to be honest. Damn, 8.5. Like, but like Columbus would probably retain.
If you could get Columbus to retain it, I could stomach it. I mean, I think like you put him on a line with Gino. Like I think
Gee,
that would get both
I,
of them going.
I'd put him with Sid. Like
That's what I
Sid,
thought at first, but the more I think about it, I think you would get more because Sid's gonna tear up no matter who you put him with. Where I think if you put him and Gino together, I think they'll both kind of benefit from that.
yeah, like I just think because Sid's definitely more of a play. Like Gino's always kind of been more of a goal scorer than a playmaker, and Sid's just such a,
Gino makes plays. He can
like,
pass
he
the puck.
definitely can, but like Sid's just the best playmaker we've seen, like him or McDavid,
Him.
McDavid had 100 apples this year, so we don't got to get into that. But like, I think honestly that's a great fit. I mean, 8.5, like Pittsburgh can't afford that, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But if
No.
like Columbus got no business, like they ain't doing nothing for the next 5 years. So like, I'm sure if you guys, like, let's say they wanted a third, maybe a third and a fourth, like if you upped it to a second and a fourth, and they retain 30% or maybe 50%, like, because like, what do you think they'd be looking? I heard like the return's not much,
Have to be more than a third and a fourth. I don't think that's getting it done.
but you got to think of the 9 million cap hit. Like, not many teams, like, that's gonna weigh his value down heavily.
Yeah. And he's also like he's in the rehab program and coming off an injury. So
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I think that's about as low as you could possibly buy in on a guy, so could be worthwhile. I know the Penguins don't have a first round pick, but we lost that in the Carlson deal. It's just shitty. But I know your Habs have the fifth pick. Is there any names you're looking at there in the draft?
yeah. So Montreal came out and said that the two names they like, it was kind of rumored, but there's been a few names circling around Montreal, but the two names that like they were kind of the most keen in on was Caden Lindstrom and Ivan Demidov. But how I see the draft going, I don't think Demidov will be on the board. I think he's either going to go second to Chicago or he's going to go fourth to Columbus, if I had to guess. I think Anaheim's probably locked in on a defenseman because, they traded Drysdale for Gauthier. They already kind of
Yeah.
got their McTavish, Carlson, Zegers. Like, they're I think they definitely need a defenseman more than a forward. So I think Lindstrom at 5's honestly, because Montreal could use he's a big center. I mean, I think Kirby Dach's kind of our second line center right now, but I think he's a winger / center. Like, I don't think it'd be a problem moving one of them to the wing. And I mean, I just kind of like, I kind of looked into him and I heard Montreal was interested, and he kind of just reminds me of Byfield. Like, it's a
Yeah.
comparison. Just big centerman, physical, can skate, can good with the puck. Like, I don't think he has like the highest ceiling, but I think he's got a safe floor. As like, worst case scenario, he'll be like a great third line center. Like, I think that's kind
Yeah.
of what you'd be looking at. And I think Montreal's always like needed center, like always been looking for like a top tier center. Like, we got Nick Suzuki now, but I think just have a Nick Suzuki Lindstrom 1-2 down the middle. Like, I don't know. I think we're definitely going forward, and like, I'm not big on TJ Iginla, who's kind of like another forward we've been kind of linked to. So I think Lindstrom is who
Yeah.
I want. But dream scenario, like, maybe if you'll pass on Demidov, like we saw it last year with Michkov, like he
Yeah.
slid a lot further than people thought. And I've seen mock drafts where like Demidov falls to the Habs, he falls below the Habs. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like
You never know with those Russian guys, eh? Like when they kind of got contract up in the KHL, like a lot of teams get really nervous about that and don't do it. But I think it's just such a high ceiling play. Like you look at a guy like Kaprizov, like yeah, they had to wait, but then he came in and he was elite. And I think it's gonna be the same thing with Michkov. I mean, isn't he coming to the NHL next year? Did I see?
he's gonna play this coming year. He signed
Yeah.
with Philly,
Wow.
and
I'm excited to see him play for sure.
he's gonna like he'd be the favorite for me for rookie of the year by a
Oh
mile.
yeah, for sure.
But the same thing, Demidov's only 1 year left on his contract, so he'd be playing not this year, but next year too. So it's not even that long a wait. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think ceiling wise, he's way above Celebrini for me too. Like I don't even like
You're a
he's
bit of a Celebrini hater
yeah,
though.
I'm not a big fan, but I'm a massive like Demidov. Like he broke Kucherov's records for like points in a draft year. Like shattered like every record, 2 points per game, and like playing with like some grown men. And he's just very like his defensive game definitely needs some work, but he's just so skillful. So like
Yeah.
when you have that type of upside, like I don't understand. Like just because you have to wait 1 year,
Yeah.
like the people you'll be taking over him anyways. Like they ain't odds are they're not playing in the NHL first year anyways. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
stay in OHL or wherever they're playing. So I don't understand why like teams get so butthurt about they're
Yeah.
these Russians aren't gonna be ready for a year. Like shut the fuck up. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's kind of stupid in my opinion as well. So like I guess what do you think's the ceiling on Celebrini then? I mean, me, I'm big on him. I know you're not maybe as big as me, but like what would you like do you have
Like
a comp for like not
I have a
necessarily
comp.
play style but just like status within the league? Like what do you
Like
think?
my comp would be Nico Hischier. I think he'd be an 80 point per game guy, good two-way player. Like I think that's a ceiling.
I don't know about all that. I'm big on Celebrini. I mean, I could be wrong. I was pretty high on Alexi Lafreniere. I thought he was gonna be unreal, and I mean, he's still developing a little bit. Give him a bigger role,
Well,
but
he was
I think
pretty good in the
Celebrini could
playoffs
be like a
too.
Jack Hughes level guy, to be honest.
Okay. I mean,
Yep,
I
I
just
said it.
don't like I everyone was kind of blown away by him at the World Juniors, but I didn't see anything like too special to make me like, oh my god, like
Like I thought he was Canada's best player.
but like that ain't Canada. This was probably the worst Canadian World Juniors team we've seen in a while, to be honest.
I don't know.
I
Like
mean,
I wouldn't. He definitely wasn't no McDavid or no Bedard, but he's one of the best draft eligible Canadian players I've seen in this tournament and since I've been watching it. So I think he could. I think he could produce in this league at a high level.
like I'm sure, I have Nico Hischier highly. Like I rate him highly. Like I'm not trying to disrespect. Like I
But you
think
think
80.
that's the ceiling? Is Nico Hischier?
I think that'd be my projection for him. I think
Okay,
his
that's fair. That's
ceiling,
fair.
like his top ceiling, would probably be uh like maybe like 100 point guy, like two-way player. Like I just don't see him getting to like Bedard McDavid level.
No, no,
Like
no. Neither do
I don't
I. But
like I don't see him having a top five player like ceiling. I could see him being like 20 to 10, like maybe fringe top 10. Like if everything goes right, I think that'd be a ceiling. I think
yeah, that's fair.
I think he'll probably be 80 point guy, good two-way player.
Fair
Um
enough. Fair enough.
yeah.
You got any other thoughts in the NHL going on right now?
Um I mean I think this can for me at least this is just a very interesting draft because Montreal's got the fifth overall pick. We got another first, 2 seconds, and we're in a lot of trade talks, like you said, for Laine, Zegras, Nikas. So I'm just and I think Montreal's like another good top six forward from like actually like starting to be all right. We're kind of done rebuilding. We're gonna start like trying to
Yeah.
play some hockey now, like establish like a winning culture.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a huge offseason for Montreal. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, for sure. I think we both definitely got interesting off seasons ahead of us. So we'll wrap up the video here. Like this video, subscribe, and we'll be back for another video.